Right. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Looks like a nice, pleasant day out there. It's a bit cool still.
Very cool.
Well, we start off with a couple of questions we got.
Oh, you wanted to start some questions?
Kick it off for a start.
Okay, I'll have to find them then. I didn't expect that, sorry.
I can't see who it is to say. Acknowledge them out there.
Okay, so let's start from there then. Hi everyone, sorry I didn't expect to start from questions. We have a question that we got on email from Laurie. The question is, did you meditate to get your understanding? If so, what kind of music did you use? I can say I am not the body, but I don't feel that. I hear your words about this. All started with the word. And now I can't think myself out of it. And so I need the lightning to strike me to get the understanding. Would it be possible to talk about it on the meetings? Okay, so that's the first question from Laurie.
Yeah. Well, I meditated and chant using words, music to it, songs to it, did all these things. But each one, after doing them for a while, they moved me on to something else continually. And if I'd have been smart enough to see in the first place that none of it was necessary, that I was always that presence awareness. So you can do all these practices, if you like, but we miss the point that you are that presence awareness. You are that Sat Chit Ananda, that existence, that consciousness, that loving to be, always, already. Everything is that. But we've taken on the belief that we are this separate entity, this person. And of course, trying to grasp it from that point of view, from the conceptual point of view, we can't. Because what can you say about awareness? You can't describe it, but it's just another label we put on things. But the fact is, right now, there is a knowing that you are not unaware. So you are, am I unaware? No, you are aware. Am I knowing? Am I being? I am the beingness, I am the knowing, and I'm happy to be right now. What was the rest of that? Got it from there?
Now I can't think myself out of this.
No.
I need the lightning to strike me to get the understanding.
See, well, the lightning to strike you. You can't think your way out of it. You, as the essence, intelligence, can't think. Thinking is happening. Have a look. What's your next thought going to be? But we've taken that belief to be, we've taken that on to be a thinker. I think. And that I that thinks is the persona, the conceptual self, the ego, the self-centre, the reference point that we've set up and come to believe when we first learned the words. So you won't realise, it's a good thing that you realise you won't be able to think yourself out of it, because the answer is not in the mind.
Yes.
Now if you look back on yourself, where is that thought coming from? Can you pinpoint a point anywhere in your body, say this is where it begins? There's a knowing there, a wearing, if you like, or a knowing that you are. But where is it? And you see it arises in that emptiness, on that awareness, which is the cognising emptiness. It's the emptiness that's doing the cognising. And it's the emptiness that's forming all those things. So awareness, what we call awareness, is the emptiness, the cognising, naked awareness or empty awareness, as they point out in the scripture. It's emptiness that's forming all these patterns. So you can say they're all awareness. Awareness is that basic space in which they appear in. So you can't think your way out of it at all. And if you see that, if you ask yourself what's wrong with right now, if I don't think about it, and you realise without the thought you're not putting the discriminations. You can't say it is or you can't say it isn't. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So there's no height or depth, no past, no future, no present, no pain. Yes. We use all those words to discriminate what can not be discriminated. It's absolutely perfect.
It's one more component to the question. I can say I'm not the body, but I don't feel that.
Yes, just saying it. You can say it for the rest of your life. But have a look, investigate. Are you the body? Well, for a start off, you know you're not the body because you say my body. And you say my mind. Well, investigate and see what this thing you call the body is. And you realise the body's made up of elements. Air, earth, fire, water, space. They're the elements which form the body. Now separate yourself from those elements. Stop being alive or stop being. You can't. Take the air, take one of those elements out of your body, the air. How long would you last without breathing? How long would you last without the water? The body's 80% water. The body temperature is the fire. Get off the earth, get out of space if you can. Separate yourself from the space. You can't without using the concept or the word. So it's all word-based. And what's word? Word's nothing but a vibrating pattern of energy also. So it's that intelligence awareness, which I say is a knowing awareness or an intelligence awareness. And it's an activity, movement of energy. It's an intelligence energy. So you can't say you are not the body, but you can't say you are the body without a concept. But if you pause the thought, if a thought is paused right now, you won't be able to pause the thought, of course. But in the seeing it, the thoughts there will be a little hiatus there. You're seeing with thought. Without the thought, what can you say about it? Can you say it's good, bad, pleasant, painful, high, low? You can't. And can't say what's wrong with right now. If you don't think about it, that pauses there. You can't, as I say, there's nothing wrong with right now. But there's nothing you can say about it either. You can't say it is, and you can't say it is not. It appears to be, and that's what the feeling is. It's seemingly so. At all, this appearance is seemingly so. And that's a phenomenal manifestation. And the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So that's all appearance. But see, we've taken for granted, when we learnt words, and the parents told you your little Billy or your little Laurie or whatever your name might have been, or whatever you think you are, that is me, that is I. Instead of being the I being the pure essence. I am the absolute, not I am the person. I am the body mind. And when you say this I is me, that's myself. We've formed a separate self. And all the scriptures will tell you there's only one Atman, there's only one self. And it's self-aware, it's self-seeing, it's self-knowing, it's self-shining, self-thinking, it's doing one self-expressing, appearing as everything. That's the pure awareness that's vibrating into pattern, shapes and forms. And you are that. But while you take yourself to be the person, you're not, you're not going to get anywhere. That's the mask, a conceptual image. See it. That needs to be recognised. Recognise that.
Yeah, I'll get the comment. Tanya says, and I think you said that, but it's worthy of repeating. You say my body because you are prior to the body. This thought appeared when you said you know you are not this body because you say my body. Not sure if that thought is true. Yeah, you could say that, although prior is always kind of suggests that there is a time and there is no time.
Yeah.
But also, yes, when you say my body, it's the same way as you say my coat. And how, because Laurie was saying that she doesn't feel that, she doesn't feel she is not the body. But how is it to actually feel the body? How do I feel the coat? I feel the texture, I feel the whatever, there is a feeling there. Same with the body. I don't feel the body unless there is a pain in it. So am I really the body, or am I the pain or changing sensations that tell me that come from the leg or the arm or something? So the feeling is not who I am, because feeling is changing. So if I feel the body here and there occasionally, that's just a passing phenomena. If I don't feel the body, well, then there is no question of being it. So this is a good and profound understanding and investigation that needs to be made to actually find the certainty. And the way Bob is illustrating it also, because you started on elements, but the one that really spoke to me when I first heard it was, your body is changing. When you were 5-year-old, there's not one cell in that body that is here now, not one. And you still feel that 5-year-old was you. It was you, that was me. That was me coming to school on the first day. That was me going through traumatic experiences or events. But none of the cells of the body was present. So what is that me? That had the small body, then had the bigger body. Then there are bodies that lose the limbs in the accidents, and the me is still there, that have that body or have that coat and feels that coat or feels that body. It is not the matter, it is not the feeling or sensation that changes. The feeling of the body is going to be the same. Animals feel their body when they injure them or wound them. It's the understanding or the interpretation of that feeling. So I may still have, when there is a tension, I will feel that tension, but this is the tension in a costume. It is not me. I am not tense. I am the awareness of tension. So I am not the body. I am the awareness in which the body appears, because without it, how would I see, hear, or even think that I'm the body? You really...
And that's the pure knowingness. Always and ever fresh being or knowing.
The body is always changing also. You cannot be that which changes. That's also from Tanya. And I think we had, I don't know if we exhausted that question. Also Laurie, she was asking about the music with meditation. Yeah, this certain people are moved to do certain practices or certain meditations, taking credit and hoping that that practice will take you somewhere else or will evoke the lightning, is reinforcing the separate self and reinforcing the future.
Whatever it keeps you, whatever you It doesn't keep you away. If you're in the mind and believing the mind is something that that is what you are. It's what you are is pure mind or pure knowing. That's mind without any concepts on it.
Yeah.
That's pure awareness. But when you're relating to this body-mind entity, the person, you're not going to get the answer in the mind, because the nature of the mind is to vibrate. It vibrates dualistically, always into the pairs of opposites. It's always seemingly splitting, dividing. That's the way it functions: good, bad, high, low, pleasant, painful, this, that, whatever. Always vibrating. And the words or labels we put on it, which discriminate it, gives us that sense of separation. But it's still always and ever only the one essence, patterning, shaping, forming and experiencing and expressing it as everything. And that's all the manifestation is made up of, things. You and I are things. The chair, the carpet, the flower, the tree, the plant, they're all things. And the things are appearing in that space-like awareness.
Yeah, so we have Shishagiri says, my is ahamkara, identification, and mine is mamakara, attachment. They all mine. And then Michelle says, where is the sense of I coming from? Because it is everything is appearing in nothing, so why do we feel I? Sorry, why do we feel I? Yeah.
Well, it's just a sense of vibration. It's the activity of intelligence energy. As I tell you, point out how it comes about in the universe. There's a certain sound called, as expresses as Om. A sort of a moan or a sigh or whatever you like to call it.
Yeah, so if there was no sense of I am, no sense of presence, frankly, there would be nothing, no experiencing, no expression. There has to be a sense of presence in which that experiencing and expressing appears. So the whole universe, the whole manifested world, the love, the hate, the sadness, the joy, the winter, the summer, the animals, the plants, the air, the sky, the stars, the suns, the cells, the thoughts, the feelings, all appear because of that basic screen of presence. And that presence, that open, spacious awareness, is translated by the mind as I. That's just translation.
A subtle vibration, yeah.
It's just a translation. This I is not limited to the location of the body. It is unlimited. But because we were conditioned to believe that this is where the reasoning capacity has been hijacked by the survival instinct to preserve the body, the narrative aligned with that survival of the body and started projecting that there is an entity, intellectual, conceptual entity that is called I, that is here but not there. That is only a program, a software, an overlay of the interpretation. Without that interpretation, the I, the presence, doesn't have any limitations. It doesn't limit to this body. Although the defenses of the body and the survival instincts of the body will still look after this body over the body somewhere in West Africa or on the moon. Or the body of mosquito, for example. Perfect individual mind makes it local. That's Shishagari, thank you. And Michelle says thank you also. We have another one, another question coming from Steve, and I have the screenshot of that question somewhere handy. Yeah. Yes, so the question says, non-conceptual space above one's shoulders is very helpful pointer from Douglas Harding. The sense of separation is not so tight in the visual, busted, wide open seeing. See that space above the where the whole window of seeing happens, the whole gaze, that if you don't conceptualize or make nothing of it, this is just a spacious space of your gaze.
And does it stop at the shoulders? Ever see?
No.
No. It's everywhere and everywhere. But that's why Douglas points out to see that there is no, what true seeing is.
Yes. So Steve relates to this one, and the question is, all the opposites arise in this seeing aware space. The appearance of any suffering that can arise, no body or mind craves for. Could you both share your experience on these transitory suffering moments?
Well, suffering comes about when you're relating to this conceptual I, the believed in persona, the mask. It's only me that can suffer. It's only me that can be unhappy, depressed, guilty, because it's the labels we put on that I or me. You can't do much with I or me when it's just a sound, a subtle sound, a vibration. But we say, I'm Bob, the Australian, and I'm good, I'm bad, I'm pleasant, I'm painful. And I put all those concepts on it, and the energy of belief goes into those concepts. Now I've got a conceptual image, not an empty form, a formless form anymore, but now a conceptual image that I believe the pattern of that image and patterns in the shape of this body, my identity. And that's what I believe I am. Yeah. I am, and that's where all the suffering comes from. It's only me that suffers. If not relating to that me, to the pure, non-conceptual, ever-fresh presence awareness, when there's no other pattern, shapes or forms, and it hasn't even got any pattern, shape or form, it's just that pure space-like awareness. Who is there to suffer? And how can they suffer?
And then the transitory calamities that come, they don't need to cause the suffering. Like if we look at the kingdom of animals, we look at our cats, occasionally, someone may step on their tail, or they get frightened because of the tomcat from the neighborhood. That is a calamity, but it doesn't cause any conceptualization. It doesn't cause resistance. Oh, it shouldn't have happened. Oh, why did it happen to me? So the pain is there, but there is no suffering due to the pain, because the suffering due to pain is only a narrative, only interpretation of what's happening and the resistance to it.
Well, it's physical pain, that's a sign that all's not well with the body.
Yeah.
Do something about it. But if it's psychological pain relating to the me, it's not necessary.
Yeah. And even if the animals are in a situation where their territory is being threatened, they will stand and fight for the territory because of the instincts, but they will have no story about communism or Nazism or whatever the stories that we tell ourselves, and we rise and fight for freedom for reasons that are more conceptual than practical. We believe in ideologies, and that's again translation.
We do that because we have concepts, mental constructs about everything, and have every form mental constructs immediately instead of seeing things as they are, as that space-like thing that Douglas was talking about, where your head's supposed to be. Instead of seeing them as they are, we see them from this conceptual image. And that's caused a conflict. Yeah. There'll always be conflict going on. Fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, all these things are all psychological suffering. Now if you've got a bone in your arm that's broken or bruised, you can pinpoint that. But try and pinpoint this psychological suffering. You'll say, it's there in my head. All right, well, pinpoint the place you think it is in your head, the point you can see it. Or it's in my throat, or it's in my heart, or it's in my stomach. When you look and try and pinpoint the thing where that mental suffering is, you won't be able to find a point anywhere. And then you ask yourself, well, where was I looking at it from? If I think it's in my head, I must be looking at it from someone else to say there. Well, look back and see, try and find where you're looking at it from. And go back and look at that, and you realise there's no static point where you can look at it from psychology. But again, the physical stuff, you can pinpoint that.
Yeah. Yeah, there is also, Steve is also giving his own thoughts on this one. My thought is, be at ease with this. Yeah, beautiful. And I hear you say, leave everything as it is. Be with what is, which is appealing.
Yeah.
Or, as you said, what's wrong with right now if you don't conceptualize.
Yeah, and if you're leaving it as it is, you must be at ease with it.
Yes. Leave it unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected, and see how it changes of its own, because everything does.
What was it, that song, Porgy and Bess? Summertime and the living is easy.
Yeah. Yeah, so the only thing what you can do with even a psychological suffering is to wake up to it, recognize it.
Yeah.
See that psychological suffering comes only from the belief in narration, this mechanical yapping in the head that is telling you that it shouldn't be this way, that you want something else, or this should end, it's just a narrative. And recognizing that, the attention went to fuel and believe and make real something that is just a narrative. That's awakening. Now you actually recognize that identification. So recognition happens from the point of non-identification. That's the freedom. But before the pattern breaks, well, it may need a little bit of the recognition repeated in the moment.
Yes, we form these habits and reinforce them day in and day out from the time we first started to read and going to school and up till the time we see through this. Well, it's seemingly very real. And 99.9% of the population are forming those habits. And you're trying to get out of it. Well, first of all, you have little insights away from it from a start off. And then you look back at the population and the people around you, and they suck you back in straight away. But when you can stand on your own 2 feet and see it, instead of them sucking you in, you'll suck them out of it. Standing firm and absolutely certain that you're not the body or not the mind, you are that essence.
There is a comment from Rohan. This is so tricky. As Bob says, the questioner is the question, and both cancel each other out. Who is asking about where the sense of I comes from, apart from a thought? We can pinpoint a location where that thought emerges. Yeah, beautiful. You're on the same wavelength. As Bob is answering, Rohan is typing, and that's so in tune. Beautiful. A thin line separates a thought from I guess it should be an intuition. Yeah, the Giri says the thin line separates a thought from intuition. Well, intuition may also appear as a thought, or it may be just a feeling. Whether it is conceptualized, there will be a thought, or whether it's an impulse to act.
Are there any lines?
Yeah. It's the real line is only in a conceptual definition, what's one and what the other. But that's not even a real line, it's just a conceptual line. Jane, fish are jumping and the cotton is high, daddy rich and your mama's good looking, so ghost pretty baby, don't you cry.
That's good on you, Jane. That's the rest of that.
That's the song. Beautiful.
The same one and I started.
Yeah. Yeah, you're brilliant with the songs and lyrics and poets. Hush, not gust. Haha. Hush, not gust. This is what she made the spelling error. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Dad is rich and your mama's good looking. So, hush, hush,
Hush, be silent.
pretty baby, don't you cry.
Yeah, hush.
Yes. And Otelin says hi. And my Polish friend Bogusia is watching. Hi. And are there multiple paths to understanding non-duality? Dino asking.
If it's absolute, how many paths there can be? Can there be any absolute?
Yeah, and this is actually unlearning. So dropping all of the conceptual understanding that you have, and you there, you it.
But any path, seeming path you're on, if you really follow it, take you home.
Yeah, even farming a potato, and studying on a insecticides or different soils, or looking at the sun, bringing the life to that soil, and sprouting seeds. All of it takes you home, because all of it is it. I mean, there are hints in every single piece of the appearance, because they made of the same substance, of the same essence. You can study astronomy or mathematics, and you can arrive at the realization that, oh gosh, this is the holographic universe. Everything is fractal, is the one and the same. It's not a part of it, it's all of it.
It's not a matter of arriving, you never left anywhere to arrive at.
Yeah, you only arrive at the conclusion, because you might have forgotten.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know,
there's the
forgotten,
recognition.
seemingly forgotten, yeah.
Yes. You kind of not even forgotten, you just buried it under a conceptualizing. It is always there, but it's just layers and layers of beliefs and ideas that cover it up so thick that the plain basic screen is like mirror covered with reflections. Nobody sees the mirror because it's covered with reflections, but it is there. It's always there. And Michelle, I bet you sing that song beautifully, Jane. Yeah.
She does.
I'm sure. I didn't see her singing that particular song, but
Yeah.
every other song that I heard her, she sings absolutely beautiful. Yes, I love singing that song. Oh my gosh, you gotta do it for us. You gotta bring a guitar and have a party and sing that song. Well, when the restrictions are down, anyway. That's it for now.
That's it for now.
That's it for now. Yeah. You wanna return to the spiel, which you haven't started just.
Well, most of the spiel comes up, isn't it?
I'll give you
Yes.
I give you the audience. I'm listening. I'm everything.
So it's all what you would say. A natural, effortless, spontaneous happening or occurring, a seemingly happening. And if it's spontaneous, it's got no duration to it, so it's not time bound. It's got no static point. There's no static point in space. You can say this is it.
Yes.
It's everything and the no thing. Nothing can trouble you excepting your own imagination. While we are imaging in, and that's all imagination is, imaging in. Imagine. We image in. And create means we create a mental image, a concept or a thought, an idea, and put the energy of belief into it and make it seemingly real. Oh, this is so-and-so, or this is that. And this ego or persona, the mask, is a conceptual image we have about ourselves. And we think we are this pattern, shape and form, this body, mind entity. And we function from that point in the belief that we are that. So that's what we call the self-centre, the reference point, or the ego. Not talking about three different things, but all the same thing. That's just the same. It's all the one thing. But you'll see that this ego is a concept. It's only the conceptual image we've formed about it. It's just another concept then. So we put the energy of belief in it. Now we've got a word that we think is what we are. We are this, and it's functioning through this pattern we call the body-mind. Eh? So I am this body, I am this mind. And you are that in essence. It's real in its essence. There's only the one reality in it. But how it appears in the pattern, shape and form is unreal. It's Maya, it's illusion. It's a dream. Now you go have a dream at night. You can be in the mountains, up in some high hills and walking in these mountains. When you wake up, where are the mountains? They're gone. Now, you hadn't moved off the bed. Now, do you think the mountains were in your head? Eh? Think there were really mountains in your head? And you were travelling in them?
I've got a big head.
Yeah.
The head is bigger than the whole universe.
Yeah. All the other things you dream, you're in the ocean, you're somewhere else. So...
Ocean is in me.
Yeah, but just have a look at this manifestation we're in now.
Yeah.
Treat that like it, and this world seems real. But if it's like it's a waking dream instead of a sleeping dream, where does it come from? When did it begin? When can it end? When did it come into existence? Fresh and new when you woke up this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There are residuals of it, memories of it, we relate to, and see, it's a seeming continuity. But if we weren't relating to those, it'd be just like the dream. It disappears. You can remember very little of it in the morning.
Yes.
Don't remember that mountain you were climbing in the morning. It's not there. Don't remember that ship you were sailing on, or the car you were driving, or the woman or man you were with. Not in the dream, or the things that went on. So, all appearing, but it's the one essence that's patterning, shaping, and forming, and appearing as everything, and that implies a wondrous innate intelligence to it all that's able to pattern, shape, and form in all this marvellous ways it does. Spontaneously, naturally, effortlessly, as everything. And as we mentioned before, it's just as it is.
Yeah.
Not what it was, not what it will be, not what we would like it to be, not what we would have it otherwise, or anything at all, but it's always as is. And in the words we speak, this is just another part of the verb to be. So it's the pure being in this immediacy, in this spontaneity. When does now begin? Try and grasp it. I'm going to grasp now. All right, I've got it. Didn't last very long.
No.
It disappeared under the trying to hold on to it. It was like very slippery. Slipped away and disappeared. And then there's another now immediately there. No duration. So we see that time is a mental concept. Got a question?
No, I've got a comment. I just read the comment. This is from Shishagiri. Panchadasi says, intuition is non-sensory, that is why it is called a direct experience, though eventually all dependent realities, that which is expressed as conceptualization. Without conceptualizing, we cannot communicate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without conceptualizing, you can't communicate.
I mean, you can still do the sign language, or you can still kind of, scream like animals when you are fearful, or
But real,
wink when you want to flirt. But yes, conceptualizing.
yeah. But you look around the room and look at everything in the room without putting the concept on it or the label, and you realise everything is registered just as it is in the immediacy. It's not one homogeneous mass, you say.
Yeah.
It's able to register it in different pattern shapes and forms.
Yeah, same as animals. They don't conceptualize or label things. They don't have any names for anything. And they still don't bump into the wall. They can still see, register everything. And that computer is going to make a calculations how to move the body about. Yeah, registering is one thing, and conceptualizing is yet another thing. The labeling, naming, and claiming.
So it's the same life essence that's in every sentient thing. It's that same livingness, same life. And when you look at yourself, what are you? Are you the body? Are you the mind? Or are you the life that animates and expresses through it? And you realise you are that life, because you can, if that body goes out, that life goes out of that body, you've got a corpse. It's going to break down and rot without the animation keeping it going, essentially.
Yeah. And that's a brilliant pointer. That's a beautiful pointer. But it still doesn't mean that the corpse is not made of life. It is. But it is just a really good pointer. And we have a comment from Michael. Oh, it's a question. What makes the waking dream seem like it continues each day? If just memories, can I wake up tomorrow for a world of love, a world of no suffering? Much love to us.
Well, for a start off, Michael, there's no tomorrow.
Good one.
Wake up right now.
Yeah, to the world of love and world of no suffering.
And life, that life that we just said it disappears, that is love. And that's what I tell you in the scriptures. They say, God is love, or love is God. We've taken love as another word or label we put onto something separate, as a personal love, which has an opposite to it, hate.
Yeah.
But life, which is love, always just produces more life. Out of life, more life comes. There's no room for death in it whatsoever. The death only seemingly happens in the pattern, shapes and forms it expresses through. Yeah. The patterns break down. But what breaks down, what's left of them, goes back into that life essence again.
Yeah.
And it's not reincarnation. There's not a person that was ever incarnated in the first place. It's just the spontaneous animation functioning.
Life itself is incarnating in every shape and every form and every pattern. Ever fresh
and ever new. It's always fresh and new because it's spontaneous.
Yeah. And Michelle, is the thinking like another sense that attributes a label and a value to what is first registered by other senses? Sorry, I meant is the conceptual thinking. Just like another sense. Yeah, in Buddhism they say we have 6 senses: seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, all the other senses, the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, create the world, the sense of space. But the thinking, the interpreting, placing it somewhere in the time, it creates the time. So the world without thinking is world without time. It's a timeless moment now, but the space still exists. And world without senses, like when you're unconscious, there is no world, there is no space, there is no time. So for the time-space to exist, you need 5 bodily senses to create space, and the thinking to create time. And now it gives it a context. Now it plays the world on some seeming scale. It gives it a story. So conceptual thinking that interprets the sensory information is our whole experience of time-space.
And those 5 senses are functioning: seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking. But when we bring the I into it, the conceptual I think, we form the thinker.
Yeah.
Now, what's your next thought going to be right now? You don't really know. Thoughts arise, they come up. And you say, I think. You formed a thinker, a subject. Now, any subject has to have an object. That's how it vibrates. I think this thought. And the thought that's happening in thinking becomes the I think becomes the subject, and the thought itself becomes the object. The other sense I'm seeing, you're seeing right now, I see. I see becomes the subject, and what's seen becomes the object. But there's pure seeing. Pure seeing and registering everything right in the moment. Tasting, touching, smelling, breathing, heart beating.
Yes, so even if there is a big context or the story, like, Bob also remembers there is a past memories available. The world is as it appears to you. It's only the overlay of translating or relating, interpreting as something relevant to the me. That one is questioned. So now all the intellectual capacities, reasoning capacities, thinking, problem solving, everything. I mean, how many functions did you have on this neuropsych test? He's got a top average or above average functioning, all above average, because they stopped testing people over 90. All that superior, supreme activities, brain activities, are available without having the I related to. So it is conceptual thinking creates the world of meaning and the world of future and past and the world of context and all those beautiful, beautiful worlds. And you can see them, you can marvel at them, you can enjoy them, but you don't believe them real, because there is no relating that gives it a heaviness. There is no me here versus the world out there that are in conflict. So it is just one flow. That makes it incredible. Now we have the question from Alvaro: what is depression? What is depression? Depression.
Depression?
Yeah. If someone is depressed, I assume this is the depression, the psychological, not the geographical depression. The sense of acute resistance to what is.
The sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost a sense of despair, the resistance to the point of it's intense suffering. It's heartbreaking.
Just another sensation.
Yeah, but it comes with the story, because the physical component of depression will be a vibration. It will be probably a closed, contracted chest, maybe a lump in the throat, maybe a tearing eyes. So depression often have the pattern, the crazy eight, the pattern of anger and the pattern of sadness that are interchanging, but those are labels. On this level of sensation, on a physical component,
a heaviness of heart.
Yeah, heaviness, contraction, and all sorts of different vibration that we label. We give it a label which we actualize and give them seriousness and meaning and belief when we name them. But what is another component of that? Without it, the depression wouldn't really be possible. Is the story. I'm not good enough and I'm worthy. It's like life is not worth living, or all sorts of different, will be individual sort of stories that we attached meaning and validity. We believe in in the story, and we label the vibration in the body, and that is causing that acute suffering, horrible suffering.
Yeah, everything vibrates in the opposites.
Mm.
So the good or the pleasant's there, then it vibrates into opposite, which could be depression, fear, anxiety, stress. How do you know? Because we've had the sensation before, that's all.
Yeah.
Feeling is a sensation. We had this sensation before and we labelled it with depression or fear or anger with the words we learnt from our parents. And so every time that seemingly same, even though it's fresh and new, sensation comes up, we load ourselves down with all the previous sensations. Instead of not as it was in the first place, now it becomes overloaded.
That's right.
And it can seemingly be worse every time. And as it's worse, it's heavy, like a heavy cloud. It'll hang around for a while. But realise that leaving it as it is, it's free to move along. And when we were talking about the five senses, that was one of the sayings in some of the scripture, be utterly awake with the five senses wide open. That means when you're totally alert to the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking, you're awake to them all. And be utterly open, because when we, as it is with those senses, when we got one, we fixate on it to the exclusion of the other, not realise those five senses, they're ever changing and ever open to change and move around. Leave them open, and they've got a chance to flit from one to the other. But while we fixate it on, we keep it there. Be utterly awake with the five senses wide open, and be utterly open with unfixated awareness. So now if you're seeing something and you're loading the old label on, if you're open to it, it might be something else going on, a feeling or a tasting or something that'll open you up even more. But you're totally with life then. When you're staying in the one, you're missing out on what's going on around you. Because it's always constant change. Everything is transient, constantly changing. But if you're wide open to it all those senses are there, they're open. Instead of being blocked off by the one you're fixating on, they're open to be utilised. And while you're thinking this, you might be seeing something else and say, oh, that's joyful. The other one was sad, you'll flit to that one then.
Beauty.
That'll help get you out of the old one.
That is so beautiful. Yeah, I didn't hear you say it this way before. What a way out of suffering. To just have the senses wide open. And then there is, inevitably, when you see the darkness, you will see the light. Because all of it is available. It's just a story that filters out the light and keeps the darkness. And also, just a disclaimer, when Bob says, leave it as it is, it doesn't mean not to go and seek help, because leaving it as it is means you are utterly open. And if the idea comes to investigate biological reasons for depression, leave it as it is. Follow the idea. You see the body going to the computer, learning about the fermented stuff that causes the serotonin level to grow in the stomach. Wonderful. Leave it as it is and see how the body looks after itself.
Yes. When we don't leave it as it is, we say, well, we want to try to change it. Oh, I'll do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. You're not giving it a chance to move on that.
That's
fixating
right.
on it.
Yeah. Sometimes leaving everything as it is and being utterly open means actually hearing the invitation for the help or for therapy or for whatever. It's just being completely open and following that movement rather than shutting everything down with the narrative and sticking to that terrible darkness, which again is nobody is a doer of even that. It's just to remind that there are possibilities to really stay open, not locked down in one of the senses, which is usually thinking, but just relax out of that confinement. And there is a comment from Shishagari. It is mentioned in the Brahma Sutra that the only thing that separates sleeping and waking, so waking is more of a mirage than a dream. Yeah? And now, Bill, a thought or idea or a memory cannot be applied to this immediacy. The immediacy has no duration. Try and apply a thought or idea to this obvious and ever-present immediacy. It evaporates instantly. The actual resting in this result in non-conceptual awareness. The very act of knowing this is the essence of freedom. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, that's good, Bill.
Beautiful, yeah. And if thought or image or memory appears in that non-conceptual awareness, is not excluded. Everything.
And who can try to change it anyway?
No. Everything appears in the immediacy. It's hard to apply thought to it because nobody applies thoughts. But thoughts are rising and subsiding just like everything else, just like sounds and sights and smells and tastes, all of it. Michelle, it can be from wanting something that is not, which stems from a separate sense of me. Beautiful. I think that was regarding the depression. That depression is a resistance or is wanting something that is not.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it, which stems from separate sense of me. Absolutely. Me that is always knows better than God, knows better than life, what should be, how should be. Yeah, amazing arrogance of that imagined entity. Now, Joe, I love it. Thank you, Bob and Kat. And Alvaro says, thank you, it was helpful. Thank you. I hope it's not your case, but yeah, be open for any help that may come from within and without, because relaxing out of any fixed position is the freedom, is increasing freedom. And Caroline, love that wide open. Yeah, that's so lovable, the wide open.
Yeah, that's right. Not the narrow opening, but open up.
Yeah, complete, boundaryless, space-like. Michelle, so much wisdom. It's incredible. Beautiful. Yeah, see how much comes from through you. It is all innate. It is everywhere. It is in farming a potato, really, in everything. Can't be too far away. That's it for now.
Want to add anything there?
I'm adding all the time. Thank you, darling. I add only this. Depression is quite often, from what I've gathered, being here around Bob for a few years, it's a good prerequisite to questioning, to start questioning. When suffering gets so acute that you're just so sick of it, that you can't take anymore, and you lose all your hope, that is a point where there was even described by one of the scientists I was listening, neuroscientist, who was actually explaining the amygdalas and the overload of the suffering that causes almost a spark going to the other hemisphere of the brain and inducing absolute bliss. So I don't really, science is another belief system, just like everything else in the whole manifested world is just all what we agreed to believe and therefore create as reality. But yeah, I've seen quite a few situations, my own included, when the point of a deep devastation was the point when there was an opening just that close. So there's nothing either good or bad. From this point now, when I'm looking back at that situation 5 years ago when I was on the point of devastation, I can't be grateful enough. It's just a story because it's only this moment now. 5 years ago, it's just a story. But it's a beautiful story. I love every bit of that story, and I love the depression that was included, and I love the devastation and the pain and how this pain came about and all of it. And this is very often a perspective of people who went through the calamities, and somehow the resilience were present within them, and because of that resilience they look back at life, and that which was hardest is the most valuable. The tallest mountains they climbed, the highest mountains they climbed, the more joy and I don't know, even a sense of pride, which is probably not the best, but is a judgment anyway. The childbirth, painful childbirth, or emerging from the abusive relationship and taking the lessons out of it. Life is a magnificent play. Everything is beautiful, the good and the bad, the pleasant and the painful, viewed from the perspective, from that absolute perspective in which nothing is absolute. The momentary suffering, the passing suffering is not absolute. Because even depression, even a long, dark depression is changing. There is a change within the depressive pattern. And I don't know that much about depression. I didn't have that much of it in my life. I had a different survival strategy, but I did have enough. And I lost my dearest friend to it, who committed suicide. So watching the depression pattern is also being vigilant and being alert to the changes within. As I mentioned before, even the crazy eight, the anger, sadness, when you're sick of being sad and self-pity, you get rage towards the life and everything. That's a surge of energy when you just want to... And then again, you exhaust yourself with that outburst, and the sadness and shame and guilt and all that creeps in. But they're constantly changing, and they're all stories. They're all stories of love calling out, come on, I need to be seen, I need to be acknowledged. I have so low self-esteem that someone else has to show me who I am, how beautiful I am. I need the reflection. And this reflection is available. The lower you are, the ego, that self-destructive, conceptual image, well, that is not even real. If you see through it, the reflection of who you really are is all the world outside you, all the seemingly outside you, because nothing's outside. Like Bob was mentioning, Douglas Harding, with the dreaming, do you have the mountains and the oceans inside your head? Everything's inside of you. And this is not to, I'm deeply, deeply sorry and moved for anyone that suffers, particularly a depression which can go suicidal. And I lost one dear girlfriend to it, but 2 others I nearly lost. They were suicidal for years, and that was heart-wrenching. The amount of studies I did to help them before I woke up to the fact that I can't fix anyone. Oh my God. Yeah, that's... we got some more comments. Mukti, how can the thinking think a thinker into existence? Beautiful question.
Well, it's only the thinking it can't think a thinker in existence, and that, but the belief that there's a thinker in existence.
Yeah. The thinking. Well, thinking is not the doer; it's just pure functioning. But yes, the arise, the split through the interpreting services. That biocomputer, it goes with the language. When the language is introduced, in the language, that's split already, and that presumption of the doer of the deeds, a thinker of the thought, is completely ingrained. As far as we know, the language of birds, which is a beautiful language, does not contain that presumptuous ideas that they are. At least they don't have that neural networks in the brain.
The thinking going on without questioning it and repeating the words, and that we believe there is a thinker.
Yeah.
That word belief has come into it again. Look at that, an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. We haven't questioned the belief that we are this entity.
Yeah.
When you do, it will fall apart. Is there a person there? Is there an entity or an individual there? Is there anything separate?
Nope.
Look out there in nature. As is the earth separate from the sky? Heaven and earth are set infinitely apart by thinking. But can space, the earth, can the Earth ever get outside of space? Which space is the heavens when you look at it? What they call the heavens. They're not apart.
No.
Shakespeare said nothing either good or bad. It's not going to tell you nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. It's concepts or thought that divides it all. And that's the nature of thinking. It's constantly dividing. Good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positive, negative, experiencing, experience, all vibrating dualistically. And that's what any movement is, a vibration. Somewhat of a movement.
Yeah. Now, Cha, if everything is a dream, then we must be reality, even though we don't know what we are. That's a nice insight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the dream happens in the reality of the being that you are, which even though you can't know what you are, because you are it. Beautiful insight.
It's recognising your true nature.
Yes.
You are.
Darren, Vajra in Sanskrit means both hard like diamond and fleetingly impermanent like a lightning flash. Vajra in Sanskrit means both hard like a diamond and fleetingly impermanent like a lightning flash. When I try to hold on to the diamond moment which is no more, I may become depressed. Oh, that's gorgeous. That's beautiful. Yeah. Holding to impermanence, that is a great cause of suffering. It may cause depression or any other form of suffering.
Darren.
Yes. And now, God, so much violence inside with obsession to get pleasure versus suffering might be. Yeah, that's true. That's also a conditioning. The violence, obsession to get pleasure versus suffering. Yeah, always wanting what is not. That idea that there is a me who is in charge and can change the course of things, and it has to strive for pleasure. Striving for pleasure or striving for survival is part of the functioning, but the narrative that overlays that create, Nazism, communism, Inquisition, all of it, and just multiply the suffering.
Yeah. It's all because we've taken on the belief again that we're separate.
That's right.
If you start from the fact you are the absolute is, though it's appearing as the many, has never been divided, never separated at all. Only seemingly so. And having got this concept about yourself and a concept about others, who can ever be superior to you without the concept?
Yeah.
Who can ever be inferior to you without the concept? And what would you want of the other person?
That's right.
People, if it would live from that point of view, then there would be no need for wars or anything at all. But then we'd probably become overpopulated, or
We already are.
and so
How
things.
it seems.
But no doubt it's working out as it should.
Yes.
But so when you recognise that and take a point of view from the individual standpoint, think you're going to change the world, or you're going to suffer, be open to it and see where it takes you. It falls into place seemingly effortlessly.
Got another comment from Nicholas. I just see myself lost so deep in thoughts. But thank you, Bob and Kat. Just by listening, you give me more strength to let things be their own way.
Good.
Yeah, let things be their own way. Everything resolves itself. Life is like a river. It always finds the least resistance, one could say.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I was actually writing about this beautiful analogy that Bob uses on the life and the taking a bucket of water out of the river and putting it on the bank and relating to it, to that stinky bucket of water, which is dead. After a few days it will just get gooey. And life, the river, flows merrily along through the sandy banks, through the cliffs and the rapids. Sometimes it's very, very slow, almost stagnant, but then it goes through the waterfalls and it is alive. And that bucket of water far away there, how can it catch up with life? How can that conceptual image, the me that lives in the past, made of past memories, how can it keep up with life? Whilst when the water, the river, the water is free, the life is free, the bodies, the thinking, all of it joins that flow, and everything's fresh and new and easy. Like Nicholas says, let things be their own way. Beautiful. Sally, it is incredible that what I think I am not, and how the belief is so experienced so completely and reflected back by the world. It is amazing.
Exactly.
It is amazing.
The world around you reinforces it.
Yes.
And back.
Yeah, the same thing happened, with the belief of flat Earth. A few hundred years ago, there was no question about it, and the whole world made that flat Earth to be experienced. Well, we can still kind of say we experience the Earth flat. And that was a belief that was, Well, I still know people who believe in different beings, the angels or reptilians or others. And they don't say this is a belief. No, it's true. It's reality. That's what it is. That's the power of belief. Unquestioned acceptance. It has been accepted as fact. So now we accepted that there is a little human there as fact. Well, of course there is a little human. Of course I'm not the body. That human owns the body. But this human is me. Nah. And it's beautiful what you say, Sally. What I think I am not. See, this is really a really great pointer and a great help to see what you think you are not. What were you thinking you were when you were 7-year-old? A good little girl or not very good little girl? Perhaps you don't think you're a little girl anymore. So that has proven wrong. And especially I love when Bob uses that analogy from his own past of the addiction. The mind was telling him what he believed to be true. He can't live without the alcohol. He can't live without the cigarette. That's proven wrong too. And it was so believed. So whatever you think you are today, whatever you thought you were a week ago, whatever you thought, like how much we think what we are. Like I had completely different self-image when I was driving a ship on the bridge. I was something else than when I was fighting with my ex-husband. And then I was dealing with my father. That was completely different self-image, that different role that I was playing. I thought I was this. I was the woman, or I was the officer, or I was the wife. And none of it is who I am. That was just a temporary costume. So what I think I am not. No, I'm not any of my roles. I'm not any of my costumes, because they're all changing. What I am never changes. So what I am is the space in which that 7-year-old, that officer, that wife, that whatever appears and disappears. All the roles are playing out in the awareness that I am. Otherwise, how would I even know, switching from one role to another, that I was in different one? There has to be something prior to those costumes, so I can say they all my memories. That's again only a pointer, because they also just the stories. And Monica says, so good to see you. And now Nasser, it's good to see you. He says it's good to see you too.
Who's it?
Nasser. And Rohan, in the Gita, Krishna says detach from the attachment to suffering. We keep our suffering going with thoughts after thought, with thought after thought. If only we full stop, like Bob always says, the suffering can fall away. Yeah, attachment to suffering, how much identity we draw from our suffering.
And suffering means it's going on right now, you know.
Yeah. But even the story of the abuse, or story of trauma, or story of abandonment, oh, it always happens to me, oh, this happened when I was a child. Now this becomes the costume that I'm wearing and not letting go and keeping it in the memory. This is me. The identification takes so much energy to hold on to. But of course, because it's habitual, we don't even know that energy is being invested. It is only clear and apparent when it's when the identification is not sustained and drops off, and now you don't know who you are. The past is not really yours. It's just like a past life of somebody else. It's there, but it's not really. It has nothing to do with what you are. It's just an images.
Story ends.
Storying.
How did the story end? There's no.
Yeah, but I like it. This is beautiful what you say, Rohan. Attachment to suffering. Yeah, why don't you let go? And not that there is you who can. Would you like a glass of water?
Might have to.
Yeah, okay.
Oh. Yeah. The ing on it means it's going on right now. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Full stop. Finish. Thank you, sweet. What?
Nothing. Caroline, that analogy of stale water in a bucket, not the flowing river, reminds me of depression, trying to hold on to all those thoughts and feelings, exhausting, the very depleting. Yeah, that is actually in line.
And recognising what's going on yourself, you're able to do something about it.
Yeah.
When it's going on and we don't realise what's happening.
Yeah. And Monica says, thank you, you're so helpful. And Jane, when we have fixed idea about any person, place, or things, that is resistance.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Any fixed idea is just a story, and if that idea is believed, well, that's already a bucket of water taken out of the river.
And resistance to what is.
Yeah.
When it's resistance to what is, you're not allowing the isness to go along unimpeded.
Yeah, and also this brilliant computer is so magnificent, always open to update the image of reality moment to moment. How quickly you update your image. Today you may think that someone loves you, and after a moment they stab you a couple of times in the back and your image gets updated. But when we hold on to the old idea without bringing or getting that updates, the survival instinct can't work properly, which is a shame. And Monica says the energy is so heavy. Good point. Yep. That's it for now.
Yep.
I think I've gone through all.
Yeah, we can't hear them if they've got any input in.
Yeah, we can see it, and it's quiet.
It's easy to drop into the no thingness,
Yes.
where before it was hard to even get a glimpse of it.
That's true, yeah.
Now sometimes you've got to kick yourself to start up again.
Mm.
Because we basically relax into the being, into the isness.
That's it, relaxing out of the fixed ideas, out of all the conceptual overlay of the inner talk that is in the head, and the relating, that is, those all are superimposed on that open, wide open space of being. So relaxing out of that superimposition coming from the narrative, from interpretation, from beliefs, relaxing back out of the thinking into just plain being. That creates the glimpses, and eventually that's just
Each time you get a glimpse of it, the easier it is to see it again.
that's it, yeah.
Because you know where to go, where the silence and stillness is.
And harder to believe in the actuality of the story.
And you recognise there's no need, no one to try, and sort of no need for any trying.
Yeah.
It's always happening spontaneously.
Like Laurie was saying on the beginning, she can't think herself out of it.
Yeah.
No, the thinking is not the way. The think out of the thinking is the way. Like what was the Sin Sin Min saying? The way is beyond language.
Yeah.
Out of thinking. So to think oneself out of the identification is is just more of the thinking. Like Bob is saying, what way is out of the mind? Every direction you always look is in thinking. Oh, yeah, out of the mind, full stop. End of story. When you are already home, when you are already on the North Pole or South Pole, you can't go any further north. Every direction you move away from the truth, from home. So stop. And Charlie, ever perfect, ever true. Both of you love you. Oh, beautiful. Even a little rim.
Charlie?
Yes. And Monica says 5 years of therapy doesn't work. And Dee says someone mentioned violence before in relation to our thoughts and feelings. It seems an apt word to assist in nothing that normal thinking is often a harsh response to what is. As Bob says, no one to be, nowhere to go, and nothing to see. Yeah, I like what Dee also says. There is the thought, the interpretation is so often violent, which means judgmental. There is a harsh judgment involved because there is a me involved that wants something else. So that is resistance to the reality. There is very little appreciation when that resistance comes. And Tanya says, exactly, Rohan. Yeah. As Bob says, no one to be, nowhere to go, and nothing to see.
Nothing to do, nothing to say, yeah.
Yeah. I guess we nearly at the time that is because we don't really have much of input anymore.
Getting pretty close to finish. No.
Yeah, so if anyone has any question or sharing or a last word to say, then I'll read it.
Remind yourself, that's all. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renew your mind by reminding yourself, I am that already.
Yeah.
Already.
Reminding to go out of the mind.
Yeah.
And from that space of reminding the no mind, the mind can operate and function, and it's a wondrous machinery. It's fantastic. But then when the violent, like Dee says, the violent judgmental thoughts that argue with the reality, when they show up on that space which is already recognized and which is already found to be home, that's not a problem. Yeah. We have judgmental thoughts coming up. We usually express them and laugh. They're funny.
Yeah, the violence is conflict, resistance, conflict, and disease.
Yeah. But when you don't believe, everything's light. If I was expressing the judgmental thoughts and I was a believer of them, they would induce all sorts of emotions and feelings and actions. But if the thoughts come, but they're not being taken seriously, they just...
Yes, you don't believe the sky is blue anymore.
Yeah.
Though it appears to be so. And you will go out and acknowledge that. Look at the beautiful blue sky. Same with the blue sea.
Yeah.
Water in a mirage, all these metaphors they use to point it out, or analogies. What we, see everything just as it is. Unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected.
Tanya says to Caroline, the thought of needing to fix it seemingly keeps it there. Yeah. Yeah, if you needed to fix it, you already made it real. You already made it a problem. That's kind of reassuring it. That's, Rohan says, thanks, Bob and Kat. And Shah, I am that, you are that, we are that.
Exactly, that is. That is that.
Much appreciation, beautiful pointers. Love you from Costa Rica. That's Alvaro.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Theodore, best love and wishes from Orlando. Thank you. And Tanya, no questions, but lots of gratitude and lots of love for Bob and Kat and everyone here. Love you all. Thank you for another beautiful meeting. You are on fire as always, Bob and Kat, and some great sharing from all.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautifully said. That's
it's there in each and every one of you.
It is there in everyone. That's right. It's nowhere that it is not.
Okay, I'll have to go then.
Okay, so thank you everyone. Lots of love. I'll unplug you.